Good evening and welcome back to Get Moderated. First time in a long time. Very excited to see everybody as I return. Um, oh, having a little bit of an issue outside here, but I want to thank you for welcoming me back as I return. A couple of things I did want to go over tonight. I do want to let you guys know. Did have a bit of an issue with Facebook and unfortunately that translated to the original Get Moderated page being shut down. You can still see all of the original videos over on YouTube at Get Moderated, youtube.com/Get Moderated. um, Good morning. Good morning, Damien. Thank you. Welcome back. um, had a couple of odd things come up here where I was accused of being a gun runner and a gun dealer, which is a little odd. But I think it was just an algorithm thing. Probably cracked one too many jokes and spoke a little too flippantly about some of my political beliefs regarding oligarchies and uh, the downfall of the meritocracy and the moral capitalism of America. But we don't need to get into that today. But that was the cause. My original Facebook profile was completely disabled and not allowed to reactivate, along with, unfortunately, my original Get Moderated page. So thank you guys for following me over here. Thank you to Get Haunted for making sure that we have this platform again. I have this platform again. As you can see, we are on Get Haunted, so we are on Get Moderated. So I do have sleeves tonight. And that has a lot to do with the different tone and tenor of Get Moderated versus some of the other shows that I appear on, like Compass Curiosities. Um, I actually am looking forward to this, diving back into really just talking about some of the science, the pseudoscience, and the lore. Stacy, you are first on YouTube. You are always reliable for me there. Yeah, gotta hide the big guns because I've been accused of selling them. So I will say this: we are just passing, obviously, St. Patrick's Day. For those of you who don't know, I am very Irish. One day I'll throw my 23andMe up there and I'll show everybody just how Irish I actually am. However, I will say I grew up in a very traditional Irish household. And so for the welcome back episode, I was really kind of torn. I had a couple of plans. I was supposed to be back last week. Unfortunately, the individual that I was planning on having is in recovery from a absolutely routine situation, very emergency routine, but she is doing quite well, and I look forward to very much being able to announce when she'll be rejoining us, and we'll be having a conversation about reincarnation, past lives, regressions, and evolution of the soul. And so I'm very, very excited for that. Arthur, thank you so much. Just kind of going through here: Arthur, Russ, Steve, Damien, Stacy, Andrew. Thank you so much all for coming in. And I'm very eager to get back at this and just really have this kind of separate show, mostly because a lot of the things I want to talk about are going to be much higher level, a lot more in depth, or going into almost lecture format as opposed to the other kind of candid conversations. I know. The reincarnation talk has been. It's almost like you've been waiting lives. You've been lifetimes for this reincarnation talk, right? Um, but I wanted to just kind of feel where the evening was going to take me on this and just make up my mind on the fly on what I wanted to talk about tonight. And so I have actually kind of come to the decision. that I think one of the really cool things that we could talk about because of the time of year, because of its relevance, right? Is some of the lore around St. Patrick's Day, right? And so, for those of you who don't know, St. Patrick's Day, which actually I say this like I always assumed people knew, but unfortunately they don't. And what I have found is a lot of individuals, despite being in New England, um, are unaware of the actual history of St. Patrick's Day and what it actually means to the Irish community, to the Catholic community, and then furthermore, into the lore around some of the iconography and images and characters that are in play, right? And so, for those of you who don't know, St. Patrick's Day celebrates the day in which St. Patrick came to Ireland as a Christian minister or missionary and drove the snakes out of Ireland. Now, this is the Christian mythos that Ireland had snakes at one point, and St. Patrick came and drove them all away on behalf of God to prove his strength and his authority, right? And truthfully, the snakes are more symbolic of the Druids and the Celts in traditional Gaelic traditions. So, modern America would absolutely exactly, Stacy, the pagans, uh, to kind of put it into modern understanding or really very America centric understanding. It was the Druids, not just the pagans, but very specifically the Druids. So these were folks that revolved around nature. They practiced typically solitary lifestyles in the nature of Ireland, Scotland, northern England, and things like that, where the Catholics came in and pushed out the pagan traditions. Now, oddly enough, unlike a lot of other cultures where complete assimilation occurred in the Christian Church, so things like Christmas and Easter, those are complete assimilations. So the imagery, the iconography, and the idea behind Easter is a deeply pagan. Um, I mean, it's on the spring equinox, which would not have been when Christ was actually crucified, nor when he was resurrected. So the dates were overlapped, completely assimilated. That's where you get the Easter bunny. That's where you get the eggs. It quite literally is a pagan fertility holiday and ceremony, but it has been completely assimilated. Christmas, very similar. The Yule log, the Christmas tree, the decorations, all very Germanic pagans had pretty strong influences there. Even I mean, you go far enough back, even the colors of Santa and the modern imagery of Santa. Although most people think that Coca-Cola was the original red and white Santa, it's really not. It goes actually further back. Into a particular mushroom, which was actually very dangerous, and also had psychedelic properties. Hey, Julie, thanks for kicking on here. Coming back, my old co-host there. She's out living her best life right now, so I wish her nothing but the best. And thank you so much for joining. Hey, Aaron, thank you for popping on. But St. Patrick's Day is very, very different, right? So my son came home from school yesterday, ironically enough, and asked why the leprechaun didn't stop at our house because I guess everybody in suburbia now has St. Patrick's Day visitations from leprechauns, as if we need one more holiday uh, to give our kids candy and saturated fats and processed foods, but whatever. Yeah, there you go. Now, Julie, do you know somebody? Um, Asking for a friend, but he came back and he was really upset because he wanted candy and coins from the leprechaun. And so I sat him down, and he's 7, so, like, you gotta be kinda careful with with kids of that age. You don't wanna, like, traumatize them or really mess them up on anything. But I sat him down and I explained it. I was like, "Look, the leprechaun for us, because, we're Irish, bud, like, we come from where leprechauns originate." Ironically enough, though, most people don't realize leprechauns don't play a major role in historic Irish folklore, that they are relatively new addition to the lexicon. And honestly, prior to the early 1900s, the leprechaun really didn't appear in most folklore, except for here and there, very spotty. And typically were more addressed more like the cobbler elves that you would see in mainland Europe without the altruism. The leprechaun, though, still part of the Fey paradigm in the Gaelic and Gaelic and Druidic and Celt traditions. Um, so that comes with the same rules as other Fey. And so the idea of a leprechaun showing up and giving you a coin or giving you candy or giving you things was something that I really wasn't terribly interested in indulging. And so we had about an hour long conversation, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit shorter than that, about the dynamics of gift giving with supernatural beings, especially through the lens of Irish folklore. Um, and also a little bit Germanic. And I think there's some definitely cultural interplay that go through there. But the idea that a fae or a fairy would give you a gift with expecting nothing in return is just not. It's not a traditional concept. It's always a give and take. It's always equal. It's always a bargain. It's always a deal. So whenever there's something given, something must be taken. And so um, yeah, Stacy, exactly. Bess. I mean, the iconography of different type of supernatural beings are is so ancient. It predates all modern religions. Um, I mean, you look at dragons and everything like that. All predate modern religions. Um, but back to the I almost lost topic there completely. One of my favorite modern humors, I guess is the best way to put it, is the idea that at one point ADHD was created because a fae was speaking with someone and said, "Can I have your attention a moment?" And they said yes. And so now we have attention deficit disorder. Something that I always found terribly interesting, kind of funny, and also if we're going to go down the road of fairies being real and the lore being accurate, entirely possible. Um, but that comes back to the candies, right? Like the idea that the leprechaun came and left you a candy, left you a treat, but in reality, they were craftsmen. They were trades. They were a trade fae. They did things. They were the cobblers. However, in that role, they were also incredible tricksters. They were pranksters. They were duplicitous. They were two faced. Um, they never lied because that's a pretty standard practice among all fae when you're looking at fairies and things like that through the lens of old myth and legend. Is fairies can't lie. They can't tell an untruth. They can play with gray areas. They can tell partial truths and leave out key aspects that will force you to assume certain things, but they can't outright tell you a lie. And so the idea that they're just going to gift without some kind of reciprocity is not canon, right? It's not part of the mythology. So I had this long conversation with him and explaining it, and towards the end of the evening, towards the end of the conversation in the evening, this is prior to bed. He's like, "Oh, I'm really glad that the leprechaun didn't come." And I told him, a coin from a leprechaun can easily take your luck. And if you think about like the whole, excuse me, the whole luck of the Irish, the leprechaun brings luck and the pot of gold and fortune and everything like that. Well, every story about someone actually capturing a leprechaun and getting the pot of gold ends tragically for the people that try. Um, the leprechaun is not going to just hand over his wealth or his gold or his fortune, or even provide you with the luck that you want without some horrible downside, very akin to like jinn and genies. They have the ability to grant what you're asking, but it's going to come at such a staggering cost that it's not worth it. And so, yeah, he got pretty fired up, and he wanted to go to school and tell everybody that they sacrificed luck to the leprechaun this year. And so I had to dial him in just a little bit as he went off to school to shatter all of these kids' ideas of what the candy and coins that they had received over the weekend and on Monday, what all of that meant. And so he came home today, and I thought it was terribly interesting. Uh, One of his friends gave him one of the gold coins because he didn't want it anymore because Benny told him what it meant, and he was scared, and he tried handing it off to Benny. And so Benny took it, being a good kid, and told me that they're going to hold on to it back and forth so that they don't both lose their luck. That so they'll trade it back and forth. So whoever's holding the coin is going to lose the luck that day, and they're going to go back and forth. I thought that was a really sweet thing. I didn't want to break his heart that the deal was made with parents. But if it was made with an actual leprechaun, it wouldn't transfer like that. You can't sell the mortgage on a deal with the Fae. But yeah, so that actually went way faster than I thought it was going to. I thought I could ramble on about that for significantly more minutes than I am. But how's everyone doing out there? Because I do want to take a beat and kind of acknowledge, especially some of my longtime regulars, Stacy, Damien, I, Denise. Thank you so much for sticking with me here and being ready when I came back. Because this just like truthfully, I really I appreciate it. It's an amazing feeling to know that um you guys are really staying with me here. And I took 3 months off. Like this wasn't a short period of time. I had taken a month off. I had decided I was going to come back, lost the Facebook, and then kind of took it in the teeth there. Um, yeah, so we got a couple here. Easter's become ridiculous. Yeah, Easter is wild to me. I remember when I was a kid, it was like you just got like a little basket, like nothing big, just super small. Maybe hid the eggs, a couple of chocolates, and tons of jelly beans. Like it was always big jelly beans. I don't know why jelly beans became the Easter candy. I don't know how the hell that happened. I'd imagine some candy company had that. Um, yeah, and Stacy, nutmeg. Yeah, that's an old one. Yeah, but I mean, that one to me is a little bit more akin to like the old midwives of like, if you want health, you carry around ginger or clove and things like that. But those were also very medicinal, right? So is nutmeg, um, where having that on hand could remedy a lot of problems that you might have just health wise. Uh, yeah, thank you, Denise. I appreciate it. I love watching the fact that people have replays and stuff like that on my shows. I think it's cool. And I love seeing comments come in after the fact. I think it's really neat that people comment on it on the replays, and to be able to get that kind of interaction and be able to go back and have conversations with people about something that happened like last week or 2 weeks ago, or at this point like 3 4 months ago, has been super fun. That was mostly on the YouTube side because everything on Facebook is gone. Gonzo. Um, all right, what? Upgraded your whole setup. You went from XP to 11? Oh man, that's a culture shock, Damien. That is an absolute culture shock. I don't know how I'd have done that. Um, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, I would love to talk about the Ark of the Covenant. Um, we have the potential for it being in Ethiopia, South Africa, under St. Petersburg. Um, there's I think four or five major spots that there's a high likelihood of it actually being in. Um, Ethiopia is one of my favorites, to be completely honest. The whole idea that it's sitting there in that one building that's like viciously guarded, and if you go near the building, their armed men will shoot you. Um, but I think it's particularly interesting because Ethiopian Christians, um, yep, Scotland's also an option, but there's a little bit of debate whether it was actually Scotland or Ireland. Um, but Ethiopia is one of the only sects, and I think it's actually the only sect of Christianity that actually has the Gospel of Judas included in their official um, Bible, which I think is terribly interesting. And I have a whole big theory about Judas. Um, Actually, my high school required us to do a thesis, like a 40-page essay. Um, Went to a Catholic school, and I wrote entirely about Judas and about Lucifer because they're the two main antagonistic individuals of the Judeo-Christian Bible. Although there are like institutional antagonists, like it really was just the two, because the Pharisees obviously were uh, the big bad for Jesus in the book. But uh, yeah, it would be super interesting. And Damien, I'd love to have that conversation. You just let me know when you want to do it. I have a complete open lineup moving forward outside of, I think, either next week or the week after. I'm going to be doing the resurrection talk with someone that I'm super excited to have on the show. Never been on the show before, but I always have wonderful conversations with, and it's always incredibly fun. And if you notice, drinking coffee, um, just to keep my energy up because I'm such a low energy guy. Um, Wanted to do that. But guys, I really want to say thank you. I don't think I'm going to be running the full hour tonight. I just hopping on here, doing a little lore dump about leprechauns and how they aren't to be trusted. You can't teach your kids to. You don't teach a kid a lion is a friendly, cuddly thing that if you just give a pork chop to, it'll be your friend forever. Um, and it kills me that the whole leprechaun thing has just been completely co-opted by this super commercialized like Lucky Charms shit. Truthfully, if Lucky, which I believe is his name, from Lucky Charms was dealing with that, he would have poisoned those children a long time ago. And I'm having like a weird thing going on in my throat tonight. So, guys, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be back. I'm very excited to be going deeper dive into a few things with you guys. I have some really interesting lore that I want to go into, some modern urban legends and myths, as well as some of the old school European stories and lore. So super excited to do that. Super excited to get into the conversations about past life regressions and reincarnations. Also have a conversation hopefully coming up with somebody that I want to go over what brings people to the paranormal. And there's a few folks I'd like to have on for that. That I'm going to be putting some feelers out to see who's around, but really want to have a real good conversation around that because I think there's some empirical evidence about particular demographics that really gravitate towards the paranormal. And I want to explore that, not in a negative way, not in a condescending or judgmental way, but in a very honest and very candid kind of way that I think this platform will be really good for. So until then, guys, please keep a lookout. I'm going to be a lot better this round with announcing my shows, who's going to be on. I'm even going to do some graphics, I think, instead of just the same logo every week popping up for the feed. And I'm going to be doing it before an hour and a half before the start time. So, guys, thank you so much. Yeah, I didn't choose the paranormal life. The paranormal life chose me. And Denise, I'm gonna be reaching out to you as well because this is a conversation I want to have with you either on the side or in front of the cameras because I think that your voice is actually going to be really important in that type of conversation. So, guys, thank you so much. I'm very thrilled to be back. Very happy to be able to do this again and really explore these topics and really just have a conversation with you guys on the side and on screen about some of the things that I think we miss in the candid conversations and kind of more jovial stuff. And so thank you guys again, and I will see you next week. And until then, stay blessed. Thank you. Truly, thank you.